Okay, grade 10. So we have started slope, and today I just want to talk about sort of the two most important things that I see happening in this unit, okay? And so we've started them, and the first one that we talked about was, first of all, knowing what the letter M stands for. And there was something that we worked on yesterday called the two-point slope formula, which was y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. Some of you like to write it y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and that's fine, okay? In fact, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is just the way I got taught millennia ago. As long as the ones are over top of each other and the twos are over top of each other, it's always going to work out, okay? So two-point slope formula. And we remember that we picked 2 points on a graph, and we labeled them x1, y1, and x2, y2, and then we could figure out what the actual slope of the line was. Okay, the other thing I want to remind you about is just knowing that when we have a line that looks like that, that's a positive sloping line. When we have a line that looks like this, negative sloping line. Reminder that a horizontal line has a slope of 0, and a vertical line is an infinite sloping line. Okay, so that's something that we worked on yesterday, and we just reviewed it today. The next thing that I want to talk to you about is the slope-intercept form of a line. Okay, this is a new equation. Y is equal to mx plus b. And if you were in my grade 9 class last year, we talked about this a little bit. So everyone should understand now, because we've talked about that the letter M, we've talked about this for days now. The letter M is going to represent the slope of the line. Okay, the letter B is another important letter in this entire equation, and that is the y-intercept, okay, where it crosses the y-axis. So let's just take a look at an assignment you did yesterday, and you didn't have to do this, okay, but we could, from here, we could check out our slope, because we first of all know it's positive. We went up 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the slope was 4/7. That's our M. Okay, what's our B here? It's where it crosses the y-axis. Now this one's a little bit tricky, okay, because it doesn't cross right at a corner, but it's in the negative, and I would guess that it's about -1 2/10, but we could be off a little bit here, okay? So we're going to concentrate on this formula today. I'm going to give you an assignment, and I want you to put everything in slope-intercept form. Okay, and so that means that a y has to be isolated by itself. So what we're also going to lean on are a lot of our equation skills and solving equation skills that we learned in grade 8 and grade 9, because we want to get it so that our y is by itself on the left-hand side, the equal sign, our slope attached to the variable x, and then plus, and then wherever it crosses the y-axis, and that's going to be a constant, okay? So just a number by itself. All right. So I'm going to jump to that part of the assignment, okay? It says in the equation y is equal to mx plus b, m represents the slope, and we just talked about that. What is the slope of the line of the following equation? Now, what's lovely about this one is it's already in y is equal to mx plus b form. Do you see? If we did it like that, the y is by itself, we've got a number, which is the slope attached to the variable x plus, and then the y-intercept, which is a constant. So don't overthink this right now. We're just getting into the introduction of it. What is the slope of this line? Well, it's represented by the letter m, which is what's sitting in front of the x. So m is equal to 1/2. The slope of this line is 1/2. Rise over run. Okay, so it goes up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. Next question here, what's m? What's the slope? Okay, so we quickly check and see, is it in slope-intercept form? And it sure is, right? Y is equal to mx plus b, so what's the slope? Don't overthink it, it's simply 2/3. Okay, now here, up here I've written, hint, be sure the equation is in the correct form. Okay, so let's try one that isn't in the correct form. So let's take a look at letter H. This is not in y is equal to mx plus b form. Okay, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get this y by itself. So what we need to do is get rid of that 2x. So we're going to take it to this side. When we do that, we do the opposite, right? So if it's a positive 2x, we're going to get negative 2x, and then the 5 is okay where it is. Okay, so what's the slope now? Well, it's the number that is sitting in front of the x, so m is equal to -2. It's a negative sloping line. Now, I just want to show you something, because in grade 9, you might have done this. You might have subtracted 2x from both sides. right? And then these cancel and you get y is equal to 5 minus 2x. Now, in grade 9, that would have been technically okay, but remember, we want it to be in the correct form. Y is equal to mx plus b. So we want to make sure that this 2x, negative 2x, is sitting right beside the equal sign. So whenever I'm moving the x to the other side, I always put it right beside the equal sign right away. Okay, let's try one more. This one's a little tougher, okay? Well, actually, it's not tougher. That's an exaggeration. Okay, we need to get the y by itself. So currently it's being multiplied by 2. So again, using those great grade 9 skills we had, we're going to do the opposite, the inverse operation, which is to divide by 2. And we have to make sure we do that to all terms in the equation. This cancels. Y is equal to negative 5/2 x plus 3. What's the slope of this line? Right here, attached to the x. M is equal to negative 5/2. Okay, now the beginning of this assignment, because that's all we're going to work on today, is just this assignment, which is a lot of review. Okay, it says calculate the slope of a line segment joining given the 2 points. So remember, we're going to do x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, the ones represent that this is the first point. The 2's represent that this is the second point. What are we going to use? We're going to use the 2-point slope formula. And I know that some people were struggling with this. This is sort of counterintuitive. The y's go on the top, the x's go on the bottom. We're used to doing everything alphabetical, but we have to remember that this is rise, and rise is represented by vertical, and this is the run, which is represented by the horizontal movement. So we're going to set up our formula. I know that you probably won't rewrite it every time, but I certainly always do. 2 minus 8 and 4 minus 6. You end up with negative 4 over negative 2, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive 2, and that's your slope. Okay? Now, this one here, okay, it says find the slope of the line passing through these 2 points. As soon as you see the phrase 2 points, you know you're going to be using the 2-point slope formula. We're very creative in math. Okay, and then we just want to decide whether it's a positive sloping line or a negative sloping line. Okay, we know it's positive because there's no negative in front of it. Okay, if there's a negative, then it would be a line that falls. Okay, so I want you to really look at this assignment because it says, is it horizontal or vertical? Okay, so we will come back to this tomorrow when I go over this, but I want you to take a look at this. Okay, the first thing I always do when I glance through my 2-point slope formula is I check to see, are any of the x's the same, or any of the y's exactly the same? So you'll see that in letter F. And what I tend to do is I tend to draw myself kind of a crappy grid to the side, and I'm going to quickly plot these points just to show you what I mean. 1 and negative 2 would be sitting about right here. Negative 2 and negative 2 would be sitting right here. And you could see that what that's going to happen here, when our y's are the same, we create a horizontal line. Okay, now it says find the slope, okay? And if we're finding the slope of a horizontal line, you just need to remember that that is 0. Okay, if you have a slope that is 0, and we've just drawn it here just to reiterate that, we have a horizontal line. Now, I'm going to get you to go out on a limb here. Okay, if the y's were the same and we got a horizontal line, what do you think happens when our x's are the same? Okay, if we have negative 6 and negative 1, and we have negative 6 and 4, we get ourselves a nice vertical line here. If we have a vertical line, you need to remember that your slope is infinite or undefined. Okay, you can use both words. And therefore, it is a vertical line. Okay, so this assignment is quite repetitive, but it's really important. Again, the 2 most important things that you're going to take away from this unit are the 2-point slope formula and the slope-intercept form of a line. If you can get your head wrapped around that, the rest of it's going to come pretty easy. All right.